Hi all, it's Vanessa Love, and this is my channel about, the mental health field, but it's also not not today. So I wanted to talk a little bit. I know I just did that whole video about the magnetic train in uh, in Japan, and it no. And now there's other stuff going on. Okay, so there is a proposal for a magnetic levitation train in the United States that would actually, and Canada, that would connect like DC, New York, Boston, Montreal, and Detroit all together. And okay, so first of all, um, they're like, oh, it might be better than yeah, that it might be better than airplanes or whatever. So okay, let's also, this is called a maglev. So just letting you know, maglev is probably what I'm going to be calling it. So, or yeah, I guess, yeah, magnetic train, fast train, all of those type of things. Okay, so as I said in the bullet train one, there are lots of restrictions on speed, especially in residential areas. And some of the magnetic trains or the fast trains in Japan are able to go so fast because they don't have any residential areas around them. It's like when I was doing my research, I saw that they were saying that that people aren't even allowed close to the train tracks because how fast the train goes might take the air out of their mouth. And so you can't, because it disturbs the air around it to go. So it's not like a possible thing. It's very interesting with that type of stuff. So there's that aspect. The other thing is that I want to be like, Simpsons did it and it failed. So Simpsons did it. Simpsons did it. I'm like, could the Simpsons not predict this? That would be great. Please don't do it. The other aspect of this is that this would be completely new infrastructure, and we just don't need that. We need additions to our infrastructure currently, so that there are less places where it's very car reliant. There are places in Connecticut that don't have any sidewalks at all, like no sidewalks. I used to live out near the casinos, and I'm like, oh yeah, no, plenty of areas out there, no sidewalks, no sidewalks. Very, very car dependent. You cannot walk. You cannot walk. I'm like, there's so many places you cannot walk because there's no sidewalks. It's not safe. You're basically walking in the middle of the road. There are still people who jog and who ride their bikes. Yay. So yeah, not great. Places like that need more infrastructure, and they are looking into it as far as they want to create a commuter line between, I think, Mohegan Sun and New London, with connection to other trains. And it would include stops at Electronic Boat, which would be great. There's a lot of people who work there in that area, to the sub base or submarine base. It's great. Lots of people work there. And then a couple of other places along the way. And there's an old track there that could be hopefully revitalized and made into that rail back again, and it's very much needed. I've talked about this on that antiquated Facebook, and one of my friends said that I can't remember exactly what happened, but there was a very tired casino worker because they it's like one of those places, they're open 24 hours, so you have to work like a 7 to 3, a 3 to 11, and then an 11 to 7, so there's all of that. And so there are people leaving at 11 p.m. midnight from those jobs, and without an infrastructure, there's no way for them to get home if they're feeling tired. Sleep in their car in the casino, the casino parking lot. That sounds terrible. So yes, there was an accident that was caused by a tired casino worker. I mean, you could possibly work 16 hours and leave and then still have issues, so that having that infrastructure would be beneficial. There are buses that go to, I believe it's Mohegan. It might be Foxwoods. I think it's Mohegan though. They have like a bus depot there. Wherever Comics is, because I remember seeing a friend at Comics and like going and visiting with him and then watching the buses come and go. And like that connects to like New York too. I think it's like one of those Boston to New York things. But like it would be good to just have more infrastructure other than a bus that comes every 2 hours. So there's that type of stuff. And hopefully, because that's being investigated, they're doing an environmental whatever thing. Hopefully that will be eventually proposed for that area. That's more of what is necessary because there are a lot of people there who, I mean, at this point probably can't afford cars. So having less car reliant areas would be, especially in that area, would be great. And then there's plenty of other places in Connecticut where it's like, oh, please connect, and like it'll be better. Yeah. So the infrastructure needs to change in order to have a maglev or a fast train. And we just don't we just don't have it. We don't have the place for it, especially not DC, New York, Boston, Montreal. Like, my gosh, okay. So Connecticut already has this very bad history of eminent domain because of New London and because this woman wouldn't give up her house in New London and they used eminent domain to get her house, and then they didn't do anything with the land. So that's not cool. But yeah, she really fought for her house, and they eventually took it anyway, and then did nothing. Like, how fucked up. But yeah, that is a famous case in Connecticut. And I remember someone talking about it, and it was like, yeah, so you could still see the pink house that she owned that is there, that they can't use the land, like they're not using it. It's so ridiculous. And then there's like a lot of places in that area that probably should be knocked down or like sold to investors. I don't know. Attempts are being made, but it's always one of those things where I'm like, well, there are places that are like very, very like they're destroyed by time, and like without the maintenance, their roofs are caving in. No one's gonna come in and want that. Like, just take it down, have someone build on the land. There's a lot of cases like that. So now the railroad in basically in the United States has been very, very similar to when it was actually like built in like, I think that's the 1850s. Let's say it's the 1880s just to be safe. By the 1880s, let's say most of the tracks in the United States were laid. A lot of those are the same ones that are being used today. Okay. A lot of the same everything, structures that were built are the same ones. Okay. So Norwalk, Connecticut, there is I think it's a swing bridge that the train uses. And that swing bridge has a lot of problems because it's a swing bridge and it's like 100 years old. Okay. So the swing bridge has problems. Maybe that could be updated. That would be good. The other thing with that is that there are two overpasses in Stamford. So one of them was updated, I believe, in 2020. I think that they started it right before 2020, but they were expecting that it would be finished by 2020. So that was $1 billion project. They had funding from, like, of course I know this type of stuff. Someone did a presentation. I kind of know. So the Connecticut state gave them money as well as the federal, the federal government gave them money to update one bridge, One bridge from the late 1800s was updated. There are 2 more bridges that need to be updated. It's kind of a big deal. And that's just like a couple of things in Connecticut. I'm pretty sure if like you looked at any of these things and like any of the places that you're thinking about, there would need to be infrastructure updates. And that would improve things so greatly. Right now, Eric Adams, who is the mayor, I believe, still of New York City, has been doing some things, but it's almost like not enough, because like he's doing things that are like, oh, we're updating, like the little pillars that have the information on it. And it's like in some of the more popular stations, but everything else, like making sure that the tracks are open and maintained, making sure that like people have safety, making sure there's blue lights or like the blue buttons that connect to the police are available. Like they're going after like shit that it's like, okay, but like there are bigger things on your hands, like, fare jumpers. You really want that $3? Really? Like that's important to you? Like, could you also maybe make it safer to be in a station after like 10 p.m.? Like that would be cool. That'd be great. Maybe more people would actually take the subway if they felt, a bit of safety. So there's that type of issue. And like there's just other things like making sure that there are services available for the people who have disabilities. Maybe some of the older like people who are still taking the subway. I know that like there was once a full train that I was on, and this woman took it upon herself to help someone who was like old and like moving kind of slowly, because the train was going to leave like 2 seconds. That train was like leaving, and she's like, no, wait. And they were like talking to each other, and the older lady was like, oh, I don't know if I really want to be on this train. Like, it doesn't matter to me. And then she like got off at the next stop. It was like a very interesting interaction. And it was like, this is the one you wanted? Oh, okay. Yes. But I mean, maybe that saved her a couple of hours. And then what's the other thing? But like there needs to be like wheelchair access. There's needs to be better elevators, escalators, any of those things that would help people with disabilities, that would just be good, and even like parents, who have strollers and stuff, like that stuff is not easy sometimes in the subway. So like why, like there's just a lot of criticism towards him where he's like, oh, we'll give like the NYPD more tactical gear. We'll make sure that there's like, more of, these like police robots in the station, but you're not really like updating the good things. Like you're updating things and expecting that that's going to be enough, and it's not. Like, yeah, there's a lot. And, like as much as like the car industry has the car industry has influenced American life. That's it. That's a statement. It has done for better and worse, like had that influence. And now it's kind of like, okay, so a lot more people are a little bit more conscious of like their, maybe carbon footprint, whatever you want to call it, and not having infrastructure is a problem. It's a problem. If you can't get on the buses, if you can't get, like a train somewhere, if you can't, like, if it's not easy, then it makes it that much more difficult for a lot of people, and especially the people who cannot afford cars. And unfortunately, that number is growing because of how expensive cars are. At this point, I'm like, oh God, so expensive. Anyway, so yes, I don't imagine that the fast trains will be available. I know that some people who ride the Acela will be like, "Oh, well, we should be able to go like 100." It's like, yes, when you're not in residential. There's a lot of residential areas between Boston and New York. Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of issues. There's just a lot of issues. But yes, I hope that eventually things are connected and connected better, and that things become easier. It would be nice to just work on the small infrastructure things instead of the larger ones that, I mean, would be significant, but I don't know if it's significant enough to really like, yeah, to like just really make an impact. I mean, the only thing that I can think of would be that it would maybe hopefully revitalize Detroit, that desperately needs it after the car industry kind of screwed them over, on top of the 1965 riots. It just seems like they just have really, really not recovered from a lot of different things. And every time there's a recession, it seems like Detroit is the place that just is always like down and out. It's like the terrible friend you have where it's like, oh, you had a little bit of luck. Oh, no, you did not have a little bit of luck. Oh, it turned out worse than it was. Why is everyone like crappy on you? What happened in Detroit that just ended up having cursed land out there? It just seems like they cannot catch a break. Anyway, they had to like give all their luck to someone else or something, like some other, like they're like, actually New Orleans has our luck. That's it. New Orleans, oh, you burned down, you had yellow fever, oh, you can still come back. Oh, you came back. All right, cool. Like you had Katrina, oh, you came back. It's fine. It's like Detroit. Oh, you came back after the recession in the late 80s and then the 90s. Oh, yeah, that's great. Oh no, 2008. No, you did not luck out on that one. Yeah. So, I mean, but I mean, maybe there's something else that could be done to revitalize Detroit other than dollar houses. I don't know. Anyway, I will talk with you soon, and I hope all is well. All right.